Hello, Hateless Gaming here, bringing you another hopefully useful video without beating around the bush. We're going to talk about buying skill points and the effective or cost-effective ways of doing it. I spent a good, 20, 30 minutes explaining how to calculate this on stream yesterday and figured it would make a good video. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. So to get started, I'm going to note that there are several ways that you can acquire skill points in EVE Online. The first being existing. As a new player, you will get 0.5x training whenever you exist up to 5 million skill points. And once you're at 5 million skill points, your character stops training, and then you have to purchase skill points in some way or another. Once you at 5 million skill points, I generally recommend going Omega because that's the cheapest way to acquire skill points after 5 million skill points, and I'm going to kind of explain why going forward. But the other ways to acquire skill points are to munch on these Master at Arms cerebral accelerators. If we go ahead and go into my unclaimed items, search Master. These little cerebral accelerators will give you about 43,000 skill points for each one that you eat, which is pretty nice for acquiring some skill points. And you can buy them on the market if you show view market details. You can buy them on the market for like 95 million ISK. And then the other ways that you can acquire skill points are being Omega and then having your character tuned properly to do skills. And I do need to make a video on attributes. I have not done that yet. But a properly tuned character trains a lot faster than a regular character, and thus would end up making more SP per, or more, or the ISK per skill point value would be lower if you have a spec character versus a standard character. Most of you guys would have a standard character, and if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. And then the other way to get skills in this game is to eat injectors. You can pop one of these and your brain is immediately ghoulified and you gain immediate skill points. It's knowledge in a bottle. And they are expensive. And they are expensive because they're instantaneous delivery of skill points. These are the three main ways. Character training via Plex or Alpha training. Pre-Plex is at 0.5x. And thus going Omega before 5 million skill points has a reduced value. And I'll explain the logic in a little bit. Doing boosters, cerebral accelerators, event boosters, or Master Arms cerebral accelerators are included in that list. And the third way is the injectors themselves with the instantaneous skill injection. For the rest of this video, we're going to go ahead and leave EVE. I just did this whole kind of like exciting setup for putting together skill injectors and kind of the way to do it. We came into EVE. We're going to go back out of the game. I actually calculated in all of these things, and I made a tool for you guys to make the calculations yourself in the future so that if the prices change from today's video, you guys can just plug in your current numbers and you'll be good to go. For this stage, we'll go ahead and go to my monitor. I'll do that right. This is my little calculator that I made, and what this video is mostly about. Generally, whenever you're buying skill points in any way, it's going to cost you ISK to buy the skill points, and the value factor is how low can we get the ISK per skill point down to. And lower values are better because that means you're spending less ISK per skill point, and higher values are definitely bad. So I did want to kind of make some notes on this little table and give you guys the tools. So to start out with, the green cells are things that you can edit. So if you go here and you go file and you make a copy, you can edit the green cells and get your own values. So for example, for me, I can edit my attributes. Right now I got 30 and I believe 25 on my main, something like that, because I'm spec'd. So my ISK per skill point buying Plex is 797. That's better than going for an alpha injector, but the default when you make a character and you have no learning clone or anything is 2020. And then if you edit the booster bonus, that will edit this cell here. It'll edit this cell and this cell whenever you edit this. So if the booster bonus was 5, it would fix that up. And then if you edit the price for any of these green cells, it'll fix the associated ones here. And you can also edit the cost of Plex to get value for how much it costs to Omega your account for a month, and thus getting skill points from that. It'll also edit this cell, the cost here, to associate with that to calculate this more accurately if you're buying it through Plex, which is never efficient to buy Plex through, or buy an alpha injector through Plex. Always buy it through the market unless the price exceeds the value that you get here. I'm kind of getting into a lot of things. And then you would edit the duration of the booster. It just kind of depends on what the booster is. But this is for a generic various booster. Anyways, I'm going to note that the most cost-effective thing here is buying an alpha injector for 42 million ISK. Gets you 840 ISK per skill point, which is the lowest value that you can get. However, you cannot use an alpha injector if you're Omega, and you cannot use an alpha injector past 22 million skill points. And they are the only way that you can gain skill points past 5 million if you are still in alpha. And also, the other restriction on them is you cannot. They're only one source of skill points that you can get as an alpha. So they're the only way an alpha can acquire skill points at all after 5 million skill points. This is why we have a number before and after 5 million, because what happens at 5 million skill points is your character stops training naturally and will not train skills until you get Go Omega. And that is why my before skill point value, or my before 5 million skill points, is 648,000, and the ISK per skill point coming up to 5 million is 2,254, because you only get the 0.5x increase in training time at 5 million skill points, or prior to 5 million skill points. And then once you hit 5 million skill points, you get the 2.5 together, or 0.5 plus 0.5 meaning 1x training time. They call it 2x training time whenever you go from alpha to omega, but I've come from before alpha and omega states, and there was training and not training back then, and alpha is half what standard is. And historically speaking, before alpha and omega was a thing, there was standard and there was nothing else, and now we have omega at half speed, and omega at full speed and alpha at half speed. And that's just the way that the developers made it. It totally makes sense to me, but that's how it is. That's why I don't say 1x and 2x, whereas all the advertising in EVE Online will say 2x training speed whenever you go Omega, but the truth is that 2x training speed is actually 1x training speed, and alpha is 0.5x. Anyways, or half x, I should say. Anyways, so what this creates is at 5 million skill points, to continue training with and go Omega and have natural training occur, it is more cost effective to go Omega and then be able to get the tier 2 skills to fly whatever ship that ends up making you more ISK, is probably worth it, because that's also alongside the skill points. Omega has more benefits than just skill points. It has other things. So this is why for some people it might make sense just to stay alpha and continue eating daily alpha injectors, because it's cheaper. I don't know who this person is, but I'm sure you're watching this video and you're being like, oh, it's me. He's talking about me. At least I hope. If that's you in the please comment below. Anyways, for most people, once they hit 5 million skill points, it makes sense to Omega your account rather than to eat alpha daily alpha injectors. One, because it's a pain to log in every day and hit alpha injectors. Two, it's autonomous. It happens on its own. And three, if you actually get your attributes up, it becomes cheaper. So if you have a spec character, so max with +5 learning clones, I think is this 3227. It's actually cheaper to be in Omega with a spec training clone, or with spec, having your thing spec and a learning clone, which I intend to make a video on a learning clone. It's actually on my list of to-dos. It is actually cheaper than buying alpha injectors to be Omega, but it's still better, even with spec and everything. Going Omega prior to 5 million skill points, it's probably better to eat alpha daily or daily alpha injectors instead, if that makes sense. You're going to end up with more skill points. with the IS that you spend. The other things to note are large injectors are 1346 and small injectors are 1370. And then as your skill points go up, the amount of skill points that you gain reduces. At 5 to 50 million skill points, we get 400,000, and then 50 to 80, we get 300,000, and then after 80 million skill points, we get 150,000. So our cost per skill point goes through the roof as we gain more skill points. They do want you to not just be able to inject to max skills. They make it a little bit more difficult than that. It's going to cost a lot more. So the IS per skill point goes from 1346. Most players are probably in the 5 to 50 range. They're going to be paying 1682 per skill point. And then if you're a higher up pilot, you will be paying a premium for your instant skills. However, this is why people love accelerators. Because whenever you eat a Master at Arms, once you train biology to 5, and this is important because it changes the duration, right? So with the various booster, if you enter in the numbers and then you have biology trained to 5, whatever the duration is, you can just double it. Got a couple notes. A day is 1,440 minutes, and 1 month is 4,320 minutes. And you can do math, figure out how long the duration is on your booster, or alternatively, figure out how long the booster lasts if it's in minute form. You enter in the duration of minutes for your booster, and then you enter the booster stat bonus, and it will calculate in this various booster cell how many skill points you're going to get. And then if you give it a cost, it will calculate how much ISK per skill point you're paying, which is really nifty. And I've done the math for Master at Arms, and then Master at Arms with +5 biology equals 2,199 ISK per skill point. So for a player that is at, I believe it is between 5 to 50 million ISK, it is better to sell your Master at Arms skill injectors and buy large skill injectors. And then at this point right here, this appears to be the crossover, where the Master at Arms Cerebral Accelerator actually is more valuable, but only by a little bit. So for somebody from 50, 80, they may opt to eat the Master at Arms Cerebral Accelerator to save a little bit, or just opt to do the thing. But definitely once you hit on 80,000 skill points, where it costs 4,000, popping daily injectors or popping your Master at Arms Cerebral Accelerators every day is going to be the more cost-effective option. And then if you're paying with Plex, so if you want to wallet warrior it and you're paying with Plex for your alpha injectors, this is what your IS cost is associated with it. If that makes sense, you end up paying 1,168, which it's still better to go for Omega at that point rather than trying to grab that. And I'm going to show you guys where to grab your attributes from and where to grab these statistics to fill in for yourself. So cost is always easy. You just go to the Gita market, see what the cost is, round up to the nearest million, throw it in there, and it will spit out the price. So if this was, for example, 45 million instead, 45, and then I missed 3, 1, 2, 3. And if it was 45 million, the cost per skill point would be 900. You can kind of just edit it out. And then if, for example, large skill injectors went up to, 600, went down to 660, it would edit, we would fix this one, and it fixes everything below. This calculator just kind of does all the calculations for you, and it's a pretty simple thing. I just thought I'd share it with you guys. But let's show you guys how to get attributes out of your account real quick. Go ahead and go to Buck, and go ahead and open up my character menu. And we're going to go character, and we're going to go attributes. And on this tab, you can figure out what your attributes are. And then for my character, he's spec'd, and he's currently in a +3 skills or +3 attribute clone because he's in a mid-grade clone. High-grade clones are +4, and then you can get learning clones that give you +5. So I'm spec'd for intelligence and memory, and I should be training a skill that is associated with intelligence and memory, so therefore I'd be getting it. So if you look at the skills that you're training, if you hover over them, it'll tell me my skill points per minute whenever I hover over them, which is kind of nifty. Go find graviton physics. I want to say it's in science. I believe graviton physics is 42 skill points per minute. And then if I show info on this and hit attributes, its primary attribute is intelligence and memory. So I would put my primary, if I go ahead and show my monitor, I would take my primary. So I take my intelligence stat, figure out how much I would train during a month. I would go to my attributes and I would take my intelligence stat and put it in the primary because that's the primary stat. And then I would take my secondary attribute memory, which is 24, and I put it here. So for me, it's 30 and 24. For some, it might be 24 and 24. And then it'll autofill all of the skill points for your plexing, and you're also if you put in the booster amount. So if you want to look up the cerebral accelerators, I believe that's still up. We can open this up, and then we can see that the duration is 1 day, and my little cheat code says that the 1 day equals 1,440 minutes. So I can put that in, and then it's 10 attributes, 1,440 minutes. I have biology 5, so it's doubled, which is 2,880 to 880. Put that in, and it would spit out the Master at Arms and Master at Arms cost of 95. You can just kind of figure that out for yourself. And yeah, that's really all I gotta say on this one. This video is being made with the premise that I want you guys to learn how to answer questions yourself rather than me just feeding you an answer. If you guys like this kind of format and this kind of understanding of things in the game, let me know, because I could just tell you, you know what, dude, before 5 million skill points, just go alpha injector. After 5 million skill points plex. I feel like you need something instant, buy a large skill injector. After 80 million skill points, always buy a Master Arms. I could have just made a 5-minute video, said this is what you do, and it's that. Or I could make a 15-minute video, and I'm sure 90% of you guys have clicked off now. But I can make a more in-depth detail and give you guys the understanding of why I said that. And I hope you guys have appreciation for that. If you guys put in the comments what you guys think about this idea, rather than just giving you a cookie cutter answer, I would appreciate the feedback, as I like doing videos of this style a little bit more. I can do the ones where I just kind of give you the answer, like the burners, where I'm just like, well, this is the way to do it. I'm not really going to discuss options or anything. We're just going to say this is the cookie cutter path, and this is the tread along path that's really easy to follow, or I can give you guys a tool to tread your own. Anyways, until next time, continue bringing each other up, and I will see you guys in the next video or the next stream. Remember, I stream quite often on Twitch, which should be linked below, and I do a lot of streaming of EVE Online, and I'm trying to get into a couple of other games. Make sure you guys fly fun, continue bringing each other up, and I'll see you guys in the next one.